top back thruster's sticking.
We checked it, sir. Didn't see anything.
That means either you missed something, or I'm wrong.
We'll check it again, sir.
Sir?
Who the hell are you?
Stay frosty. I'm your new wingman, sir. The name's...
Ease up. You want me to learn your name? Do what I say and live long enough for me to care. That's your Gladius. You ready?
Ready as I'll ever be. We'll find out, sir.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to our Squadron 42 Holiday Special. I'm Sandy Gardner and I'm here with Game Director Chris Roberts.
There you go. Hi everyone. So what you just saw was the latest teaser featuring Mark Hamill as Old Man. Stay alongside the new Squadron 42 section on the RSI website.
Go check it out, and while you're there, sign up for the Squadron 42 newsletter dedicated to sharing exclusive information and updates.
Yes, definitely do that. And when signing up, you'll also hear some dialogue from the game. Correctly identify which star talent said it to receive a small reward.
If you don't get the answer, you'll still be able to enlist for the newsletter. If 250,000 people sign up by Monday, January 15th, then all current backers will receive a special in-game Squadron 42 t-shirt for Star Citizen, a little like the one that Chris is wearing.
Yeah, like this one. Cool. Squadron 42, as a lot of you have known, has been in stealth mode for a while, but starting with today's show, we're turning the cloaking device off, and we'll bring you updates on the game's progress once a month as we march towards the release.
Also, be sure to follow Squadron 42 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to keep the latest updates and images at your fingertips.
Now, you've met some of the key Squadron 42 team members in past ATVs, but let's spend a little more time meeting the leads working on Squadron 42 at our various studios. Hi, and welcome to the Squadron 42 holiday live stream. We're here in sunny, warm Wilmslow in the middle of December in the United Kingdom, and I'm actually flanked by the key directors on Squadron 42. The only one we're missing is Hannes Appel, who is in Frankfurt, Germany. He's our Director of Cinematics. But to my right is Derek Senior, our Director of Engineering. Hi.
As an engineer, you want to be challenged, you want to do new things, you want to problem solve. And this project is just because it's something that nobody has done before, anything like the scale and ambition that has been done before. It's all the new challenges that we've got to come up with solutions for, and that is what makes it so exciting.
And I have Nick Elms, who's our Creative Director on Squadron 42.
Hi. The thing that excites me most of all now about Squadron 42 is the level of immersion that we're shooting for. It was always supposed to be the spiritual successor to Chris's early Wing Commander series, but 28 years on, the technology that we've got at our disposal is frankly jaw-dropping.
I have Nathan Disley, who is our Art Director on Squadron 42. Hello.
Main challenges are, it's a huge team. There's a lot of expectations from not only the community, but also Chris on what he wants delivered. But it's all the personal touches that we expect as well in these areas, which will make a difference. It's a hugely exciting project to work on. There's a lot of stuff that's really kind of never been touched before. Anything from a ship that's working, kind of floating through space is the equivalent of a level in another game in detail, to pretty much kind of having the whole system to be able to kind of fly around at any one time, no loading screens, nothing like that. It's a huge undertaking.
And I have Philip Meller, who is our lead designer on Squadron 42.
Hey everyone. It's an exciting project because this hasn't been done before. There's nothing like this. It's just this, I ramble on about it, but it's the scale. You've never seen anything like it.
Okay, chaps, let's go in and introduce the rest of the team. Here we go. There we go. Hey guys. All right, so welcome to the third floor of Freedom House. This is where the nerve center of the Squadron 42 development happens. It's not the only place that development's happening. In the rest of the building, we have audio that's down on the ground floor.
The audio department for Squadron 42, we are in some way involved in everything that you hear. So from music, which is mostly done by our external composer, Jeff Zanelli. We edit that and make sure it all works in the game as it should. Sound design, ships, everything, planets, the whole gamut of audio is we're involved with it somehow. And the same with dialogue. We take the performances, we wrangle them in such a way that they work within the context of the game.
We have various people supporting it on the first floor. So there's ship artists down there, there's engineers, but this is where the team that is fully dedicated to Squadron 42, or almost all fully dedicated to Squadron 42, resides. Let's meet a bit of the team. Nate, should we go to your side on the art side and you give us a bit of introductions?
Hey everyone, this is the art department at Squadron 42. We consist of approximately 21 artists at the moment. We're strategically placed next door to the graphics department, VFX department and design department. That's generally a lot of communication goes on between those departments every day, pretty much every minute, to be honest. That's why
we put everyone on this floor, to encourage that.
Just to encourage a bit more collaboration. Generally, this team will cover anything from Idris in scale up to anything Nebula in scale for the game. The ship team that exists still covers a lot of the PU ships, but generally anything bigger is for this team. So yeah, there's an awful lot to get on with and a lot to see this year. Got some nice surprises in store for you, and yeah, hope you enjoy the show.
There you go. Thanks, Nate.
Cheers.
So, as Nate called out, we have the visual effects team here. We have Mike Snowden, who's our visual effects director, and then over on this side is the graphics team with Ali Brown, who's our director of graphics.
So the graphics team have a lot of unique challenges on Squadron 42 that we don't necessarily have in Star Citizen. The unique cinematic type of nature of the single-player experience means that we end up with a lot more focus on things like color processing and setting a certain mood in the scene. We also have some post effects that will feature prominently that are of particular interest for us because of the cinematic nature. So things like our depth of field is being improved and our motion blur and things like this. If we don't get them spot on, we won't achieve the cinematic look.
Over here, we still have some more of our graphics folks, and Leo, who's sort of the plug between visual effects and the graphics department. All right, so we're going to head back over here and have Phil and Nick and Derek introduce us to their general group. So here we go. All right, lads, now it's time to look at the rest of the team. So Nick, you want to tell us about who's on this side?
Yep, over here we've got John Crew and his tech design team. They're supporting Squadron 42 on with the ships and the environments, the weapons, combat, items, you name it, anything technical. These guys are on it.
We're involved in setting up all the unique assets such as ships, characters, weapons, enemy archetypes that Squadron use that aren't found anywhere else in the project, as well as maintaining and adjusting all the existing assets that people use for Persistent Universe that Squadron also uses. Squadron is a very different beast to the Persistent Universe. It's more linear, more cinematic, a lot more story elements than the Persistent Universe, so the way we set up and tweak things is a different rule set to the Persistent Universe.
That's great. And then over in the back, we actually have some embedded QA here. So we're trying to embed QA with a lot of our feature teams. So there's a better iteration between the engineers and the designers and testing stuff and seeing how it's working. We still have the big QA department down on the ground floor who also do a lot of testing, but the embedded QA is actually really good for development. And I guess this way, let's see the rest of the design team. Wow. And we have production that's over here.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm one of the associate producers on Squadron 42. My role involves working with the other project producers on the day-to-day running of Squadron, as well as being producer for the Squadron 42 level design team, which involves helping them solve their day-to-day issues, communicating with other teams and departments and other studios for the tools and tech that they require, as well as working with the design director to look at the priorities for the team.
And then Nick, so what do we have here?
Yep, here we've got the level designers of Squadron 42, headed by Simon Vickers over in the corner there.
Generally my role is to coordinate the team of level designers, making sure that they're getting the assets that they require, providing feedback, both from myself as well as from Chris and any of the higher-ups, coordinating with the other departments, and generally just representing the team as a whole.
These guys are working on all the missions. Everything you'll play in Squadron 42 is being pulled together by these guys here. This is our portrait of Phil Mellor on the wall, just to instill the team.
I thought that was a brooding Oscar-winning actor.
He'd like
Which role does he play?
Is it Space Marine 1?
Wounded Hero Marine.
Wounded Hero Marine. Watch for it in Squadron 42. All right, thanks Phil and Nick. Derek, you want to introduce us to the programming team? Here we go.
So here we have the programming team, the brains of the operation, and they're located here, these 3 rows of desks here, led by Jens over there. So
hey Jens.
Hi Jens.
Hey, dude.
So as part of the FPS team, it's a lot of gunplay, making sure you can take down the bad guys. But for Squadron 42, there's also a large social aspect. You know, you're on a big ship. You need to be able to see the crew go about the day-to-day business, but you also need to be able to interact with them and build a relationship with them throughout the story.
Also got embedded gameplay programmers and also animation programmers and some AI programmers as well.
And then the rest of the AI teams in Frankfurt, which you'll meet in the Frankfurt portion of this video. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Derek.
Thank you.
And all right, so here's this side of the floor. So all here is our animation. So as you can see, they like to wear hats. In the very corner, hiding down here, is Uzi. He's our animation lead, but he's a bit camera shy. But he's leading this valiant team here. And on this side is our tech animating team that is supporting mostly Squadron here. So anyway, so this is the Squadron 42 floor. There's a lot of other people in other parts of the company working hard on Squadron 42, but we thought maybe you could listen to them. And that's a Skype call for me to go to a meeting. There you are, Squadron 42 coil catch-up. All right, there you go. I have to go.
Welcome to the Frankfurt office. I am Brian Chambers. I'll give you a quick tour and introduce members of the team that are primarily focusing on Squadron 42. Let's go. First of all, we have the VFX team. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
Cool. Next up, we have Chris Campbell, our lead lighting artist. A lot of the system designers right now are in a meeting, so they're not at their desk. But obviously, system design is working on things across both, so you'll definitely see some of the stuff or play some of the stuff that they have in Squadron. Always need to show off production team. Production team always has a big hand in working with people on a daily basis, tracking things up, making sure schedules are where they need to be. This corner we have the AI team focusing on both NPC and ship AI.
The difference between Squadron 42 and the persistent universe is mostly that the AI doesn't only have to be emergent and reactive to what the player does, but it also needs to tell a story. The biggest challenge that right now we are focusing on is the integration of the systemic behaviors with the cinematic scenes. We want the AI to still be completely systemic and emergent, play their own normal behaviors, their scheduled activities, but there will be moments in which the different designers will create a storytelling moment. The storytelling moment is mostly what we call cinematics. There will be specific elements that take control of the player character until the player decides to interrupt, And the AI needs to be able to enter smoothly into these scenes and being able to tell this story to the player without breaking their normal flow.
In this room is the engine programmers. They're obviously a shared resource working on the foundation across most of everything.
Hello, guys.
In this corner, we have the weapons team, focusing on both ship and FPS weapons. Say hi, guys. Hello. Cool, thanks. This row right here, we're focusing, they're tech artists. So it's everything from rigging, characters, weapons, skinning issues, cloth, and so on. And over on this end, we have the cinematics team.
The responsibility of the cinematics team is mainly the sprawling story of Squadron 42 with all of its performance capture that we already have in the can. And we are kind of the guardians of that, so we're making sure that it gets into the game unharmed. Of course, we are a technology-heavy game. That is one of the biggest challenges. We need to make sure that all of the new tech plays ball with cinematics so we can keep control over it, which is also part of the fun because all of the new tech is fun to play with.
They're obviously fully focused on Squadron, not a shared resource at all. Led up by Hannes Affel, leading the whole team to pull off the amazing story elements.
Hello and welcome to sunny Los Angeles, which is also a lot warmer than Wilmslow in the UK. And we thought we'd introduce you to some of the team members of working on Squadron 42 that are based here in Los Angeles. So if you head in with me, I will take you inside. All right, here we are in well, not so sunny inside, but our lobby in our Los Angeles office. Behind the desk we have Chris and Leia, who take care of the offices here for all of us. And let's just go through the infamous door into Development Wonderland. All right, and to the right we're going to go. This is towards the development area and offices here. The other area is towards the community side and the marketing and business side. Not as interesting, especially for Squadron 42. So here is the design and programming side of our development area. And if we head this way, we'll go to a very important part of Squadron 42, which is the writing room. So here we come into the writer's pit. So probably know quite a few people here from Lawmakers. But here's David Haddock, who's the lead writer here at Cloud Imperium, and Dave and Will Weisbaum here both wrote the Squadron 42 script together over quite a while, and about 1700 pages. I think a few other of, I don't know, Adam, or sure, have you contributed a few things for Squadron?
Lots of wild lines.
So lots of wild lines from Adam. Mike is our newest member of the writing team. He just started about a week ago, and you know, Cherie from Lawmakers, and she takes care of all our Confluence pages. There's a lot on Squadron as well as Star Citizen. But this is where it all starts. This is where the magic happens. And it springs from the imagination of Dave and Will.
I think I'm most excited about basically that kind of taking down the boundary between what was previously cinematic and what was gameplay, like having that ability to sort of walk around the ship and see all of these sort of side characters living lives and having sort of storylines that don't affect the main story, but are just there for the people who are interested in that kind of thing. Just making it feel believable and like kind of a cohesive world with like lots of layers and lots of things going on.
So we're going to walk this way, past, so like I said, this is design on this side, engineering here, fair number of, we do, so there's the core of the Squadron 42 engineering is actually in the UK office, but as we said, in the German office, we do things like the AI, a bunch of the cinematics, and here is mostly what we do for sort of the vehicle sort of engineering, so all the systems for the vehicles which are shared between Star Citizen and Squadron, and some of the environmental stuff like the room system, or doors open in environments, and various other things. So that all happens here, and then there's embedded QA on that side. So if we head a bit further this way, this is a little conference room. That's my office in here. And then to right in front of us, which is currently quite dark because you know, all the artists like to work in the dark like vampires, is the LA Art group, where we do a fair amount of tech art for the characters. You know, pretty much all the characters are done here in Los Angeles, and then we also do some ship and also kind of technical art set up for vehicles. It's on that side, but the characters are, you know, obviously a big part of Squadron 42. On the right-hand side here is well, Sean Office, who's our director of content.
I'm responsible for all the pipelines that get any of our digital assets into the game. So whether that's a character coming through, whether that's an environment piece, prop, anything that basically comes out of a 3D package and goes into the engine, I'm responsible for that process and making it fast and easy. Because the Squadron 42 vertical slice that we're going to show is very, very character-centric, there's almost 100 characters, unique ones, within there. We've been focusing mainly on the character pipe.
James Koo over here is actually our principal character artist, and so all the amazing characters in Squadron that you see that have all that detail, a lot of it's because of James. And Dennis is our senior producer here, in charge of the kind of content side of stuff. And if we head this way, in here, this is Josh Herman, who is our art director for characters.
The biggest challenge of working on Squadron 42 as compared to the PU is that it's just a raw amount of characters. I think in Squadron 42 there's probably like, I think we have at least 150 characters. I know that in the VS we're showing at least a minimum of 100 characters, so that kind of gives you the scope of how much that we're really trying to put into Squadron, and especially what we want to show you guys in our vertical slice.
As I said, that's a major part of Squadron, and then Steve Bender, who's our very relaxed, not surly animation director, who's over all the animation in both Star Citizen and Squadron.
One of the things I'm most excited about in what you're going to see in the Squadron 42 demo is the combat AI. And this is very work in progress. This is really our first big drop of this. But what we're seeing now is we're starting to get them to where they're reacting to us, they're running into cover, they're popping out, they're shooting, they're repositioning, they're talking to each other. And this is very early stage sort of stuff. So animation-wise, we've been going in and cutting up these assets, readjusting their timings and things like this. But what it's doing is it's giving us a basis from which we're able to start looking at and going, okay, well, we're going to reshoot this, we're going to repose this, we're going to add in, when guys are getting into cover, we're going to add different ways that they get into cover, where perhaps they'll scramble into cover and things like this. Animation is not really a self-contained unit. Because we're making a game, there's so many different aspects that feed into animation and that animation feeds into. So for instance, from the art side, art creates a character, content tech puts the character skeleton into it, and we do an animation. But that's not the end of the process. That animation then needs to go into systems that layer those animations to play in a certain way depending upon how you respond to the animation. And game code is involved in this. The AI code is involved in this. So if I want a character to go from point A to point B and I shoot at that character, it's not just an animation that's playing, it's also the AI logic, the pathing between it, the blending of certain things, various different layers of animation that are playing all at once to create sort of the final result.
And Josh, do you want to just give us a little bit of a quick tour of your guys on the character side working on Star Citizen?
I think 90% of all the character work is done here in LA. We do have 1 or 2 other artists that have been in the UK before, but pretty much all the character team and the character concept team resides here. So you've already met James Koo, our lead character artist. Corey is here as well. But all the character concepts that we're working on, and all that includes aliens, that includes faunas, creatures, and bigger stuff that has been teased before, that's all coming out of this area. So we're working really hard on Squadron 42. You can see some of the stuff that we're working on, different characters that we're really excited to show you guys.
With James, and then here we got another, that's Grace, isn't it? Bedford, I think.
Bedford, yeah, we're switching out her hairstyle to...
Yeah, I think that's better. That other hairstyle's a bit weird. All right, and so that is it for the very quick LA studio tour, and let's get to it.
Of course, the talent involved in Squadron 42 doesn't stop with our devs. The game also has an all-star cast of actors, including Gary Oldman, Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, and Mark Strong, just to name a few.
Yeah, and it was pretty amazing working with that cast and using the cutting-edge full performance capture technology to translate all the subtleties of their performance into the game for you guys to enjoy.
In Squadron 42, you will be stationed aboard various ships filled with characters that have their own distinct personalities, stories, and aspirations.
Yeah, and while walking the halls, you can stop to chat with a character, overhear part of the conversation with someone else, or just stay focused on the mission at hand.
Previously, we showed off an initial demo of arriving on your first posting in what's become known as the Morrow Tour. Now we're ready to highlight how this system has evolved.
Yes, it's evolved quite a bit. The section of Squadron 42 gameplay we're about to premiere begins aboard the UES Stanton a little later in the story than when we showed the Morrow Tour, as you start your shift. So let's check it out.
Group Actual, this is the UEES Stanton updating status. We are nearing our patrol position in Oakland.
I'm doing an unofficial survey. Does the food from the mess hall do a number in your stomach too? I don't know what it is, but lately...
Yes?
Hey, sir.
Lieutenant?
Hello.
Sir.
Sir, if you're not too busy, I was wondering about the combat you saw during your last mission.
What about it?
Well, it's kind of funny. I'm a Marine, but I haven't actually seen any action yet. And here you are, a pilot, taking on outlaws face to face. Guess I'm just curious what it was like.
Super fun. Just part of the job. I just try to focus on the task at hand and try to get through it without getting myself or anyone else counting on me hurt.
That's what I'm worried about. Not even my own neck or anything. I just don't want to let anyone down.
I'm starting to think that feeling never goes away.
Good to know. Thanks for your time, sir.
These idiot Shubin pilots are flying way too close.
Saley, Captain wants all personnel on battleship rotations. I need you to send out scheduled updates to everyone's glass.
Aye, sir. These OMCs seem to be riding pretty noisy. Let's load in a few more of the sweep trackers into the proxies. Standard boom. Got it.
Lieutenant?
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. My name's Lieutenant Valen, comms. Oh, sorry, Lieutenant. Back to work. Stanton here, Chimera. Go for priority comm traffic.
Lieutenant?
Copy that, Chimera. Cap 2. How's it all?
Lieutenant?
Lieutenant?
Right about the new alley layout, we should be able to have the pull on the filtration system.
Lieutenant?
I even did a bang-up job, Lieutenant. Well done. It's not a pool. I thought the same thing when I first saw it. It's a hydrofluid bath designed to keep the temperatures of the antimatter generators down. If they come out the bath for too long, you'd melt the ship. Those energy conduits are probably one of the more vital pieces of what we do. See, generating the power, now that's the easy part. The trouble is, getting the right amount of power to the right place at the right time without blowing everything up. Basically, everything in here could blow the ship up. We should probably get a raise. Don't you have somewhere to be, Lieutenant?
All pilots report to the briefing room. All pilots to the briefing room.
I sincerely appreciate the offer, Captain, but you've done enough already. Schuman's more than capable of handling the situation. We've already dispatched the security forces, and I'm sure they'll find the Starfarer and...
You misunderstand me, Mr. Wexler. I wasn't seeking your approval on the matter. I was merely informing you of my intent out of courtesy. While your involvement is welcomed and strongly encouraged, it is entirely optional. Our involvement, however, is not. These OMC attacked a Navy ship in UEE space, and until the threat is neutralized, the Stanton will be remaining at Schumann, and we will be assisting in rescue operations.
You're not listening, Captain. Schumann Interstellar is a very important company in the UAE. It's a company with many, many connections. I'm sure that High Command's gonna be very disappointed to hear this overprotective thuggery.
Well, I look forward to hearing from them. Thank you for your time, Mr. Wexler. Well, you were right, Colton. That man is a complete ass.
Why protest so hard against our help?
Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of these distant stations see paying protection to various gangs as a standard cost of business. Wexler knows that with us here, we'll be forcing a fight. That means unknown risks. Which brings us back to the mission at hand. Care to join us, Lieutenant? The Stanton will be staying in his current position to offer protection to the civilians aboard Schumann Station, while you do a full offensive sweep of the surrounding area to clear out any remaining OMC. Capture if possible, but treat them as an extremely hostile threat.
And the missing Starfarer?
That will be your secondary objective. We've arranged your patrol in a search pattern around the wreck site. As soon as you clear the coil, I want you to contact Agent Trail. Hopefully we can find where the Starfarer could have headed after the attack. Webb, what's the word on scanner upgrades?
Just finishing, sir. We should be better able to handle the interference from the coil now.
Well done, Webb. Hopefully that'll help you find the Starfarer and any outlaws still lurking out there. As soon as you're ready, I want you to launch and begin your sweep. Once the prisoners arrive aboard, we'll see if we can get any useful information out of them and keep you updated. Good luck, and dismissed.
I better get down to the hangar then. Adjust my loadout. See you down there, kid.
Lieutenant, I know you're about to head out, but I've been meaning to ask. How are you finding the Stanton so far?
Fine. It's been good, sir.
Glad to hear it. Stanton's a good place to start a career. She was my first posting, too. She's a hell of a ship, this one. Kelly said you performed well on your last mission. That's quite an auspicious start. Tell me about yourself. Do you have family?
I do. Yes, sir, I do.
That's good. Having responsibilities outside the Navy helps ground your thinking inside of it. But be careful. Time is one of those funny things. The older you get, the faster it seems to go. Last time I saw my son, he was getting his equivalency. Next week, he's graduating college. I couldn't tell you where that time went. Point is, I know that you're trying to make a career for yourself. But don't let it get in the way of the rest of your life.
That's good advice. You should do the same thing. Sir, have you thought about seeing him?
That would be complicated. I've kept you too long. You're dismissed, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant, got word from the hangar crew that your ships are ready to go. Just waiting on you.
Good to see you again, Lieutenant.
I'm looking for some new gear.
What can I get for you?
Combat knife.
Sure. Ultiflex Fisk 8. 1055 carbon steel blade. Simple, durable, effective. Is that all?
Give me the ballistic pistol.
Sure. The Gemini LH-86. Solid balance, a good choice for close quarters, but it does have a bit more kick than you'd expect. Is that all?
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
Hey, just what you see, pal.
Yeah, I'm good.
Lieutenant?
Best thing about everyone being at battle stations, lets me really clean without people getting in the way.
sir.
I'm almost done here, kid. Just a few last tweaks. Hey, now that we've had a skirmish with the OMC and you've seen how they fly, you might want to make a few adjustments of your own.
Alright, let's get them out of there. Ready up. Zaga, get the door. No, I've never been on one of these. It's nice. Not as nice as a Bengal, but nice.
Move it! Oh, come on, clear out!
What? No, please. OMC's gonna have to teach you screw-tops some manners. Are you looking to start trouble? Always.
Easy, though. Just trying to get a rise out of you.
Did I get a rise out of you, Aldo?
That's enough. Let's go, over there. The big one's coming out.
No sudden moves.
Relax, son. I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah. Ain't like we're gonna be here long. Ain't like they're gonna be here long either.
What the hell are you all going on about?
It's very simple. We're OMC. And OMC belongs to Sato Khan. And Sato Khan doesn't like people messing with his things, you got me?
Sato Khan? Is that your boss? Are we supposed to be scared of him or something?
Yeah.
Noël, run up to the holding cells. Make sure everything's ready for us. I don't want to move them through the ship until we have to.
Aye, sir.
Vex, start the processing.
Aye, sir.
As for you three, you move one single muscle. I'm gonna give Trooper Braga here permission to make you regret it.
With pleasure.
Finish the work on your scanner. It should help you track down that missing ship. Fly safe.
Hangar deck, stand clear for launch. Repeat, stand clear for launch.
Aegis, combat assist.
Baron 2, hold position.
Systems, green.
Attention, ready deck crew. Air shields up. Hangar doors open. Baron 1, you're up first.
Copy that. All right, gentlemen. Fire up.
Square the deck. Let's light it up. You're cleared for launch. On your cue. Launch in 3, 2, 1. Baron 1 is away. Take off approved, Baron 2. Have the ball.
Engines online.
Launching!
Contact.
Baron Actual, Webb wanted to remind you to test out the scanner upgrades before you head out.
Still a mess, but gotta admit, it's better.
hear you, Captain. Go ahead.
Pursuant of the UEE's salvage rights laws, I am hereby informing you that we found this wreck in good faith. Survivors were searched for and none found. All bodies recovered will be properly...
That's great, Captain. But all we need to know is if you picked up any signs of a second starfarer in the debris.
Okay, but I just want to make it 100% clear that this is legitimate salvage. I know what it means when officials come around. All of a sudden, clearing a wreck becomes stealing evidence and interfering with an official investigation.
They are interfering. It's not missing shit.
We're just looking for help.
Of course. There is actually a long tradition of salvagers.
Listen, do you know anything about a second starfarer or not?
Hold on, let me check. We haven't seen anything in our sweeps, and all the black boxes were fried when we got here. We weren't able to extract any data.
Yeah, it was a long shot anyway.
And are we all done here? We got a lot left to collect, and it's not really smart for us to linger this close to the boil.
We're good.
Great. You're welcome, by the way.
Come on, let's clear the coil so we can get in touch with Trejo. Agent Trejo, you there? Got something for you.
Hey, Colton, I was just gonna calm you. What's going on?
You know Arkin Station?
Shubin base, right?
Yeah, they got hit by the OMC.
They attacked the station? Directly? That place is huge.
We were able to stop them, but that's not why I calmed. They also hit one of Shubin's convoys earlier, and we have a starfarer still missing. We were hoping you might have heard something.
No, nothing. I'll put word out and let you know if my people spot it.
Thanks.
Actually, you remember those slavers you dropped at the Asiento hub? It turns out there are more, a lot more. They're marching to the base, and they have a pretty extensive scan array set up there, so they might have seen your lost ship. If you want, swing by and see if we can figure something out.
Sounds good. See you soon. Well, what do you say, kid? Continue the patrol or meet up with Trejo? Call it. got company up ahead. Run a scan.
Got a fix.
You know, if I didn't know any better, I'd say Mercy Gutierrez from Goss is doing a basic patrol pattern.
It says here she's 138 years old.
Eyes up, Lieutenant. Something's definitely not right here. Channel. Agent Trejo, this is Colton. You copy? I hope we're not too late.
Quantum travel initiated. Quantum travel complete.
Agent Trejo, this is Colton. Come back. Trejo, this is Colton. Come back. Let's take a look around. Scan the area. Hey, got something. Come on. EVA over and have a look. I'll keep an eye out.
Nobody here. Ship looks disabled.
Keep searching. Tell me what you see.
Found a data pad. Trejo wrote the word slavers on it. They took her.
Damn it. You know she was watching the base. Did she leave anything that might help us?
Well, let me check. Yep, got something. Sending it now.
Got it. Head on back to your ship, kid. I'll take a look at what's on these files. Pad contain all of Trejo's surveillance on the slaver base. See what you want about her. She takes some damn good notes. Crap. According to this, she thinks we spoke them without Ciedo, so they started pulling out of the system ASAP. She's right. We have to move now. Come on, let's chart a path down to the surface. We may not have much time. at the landing area and Trejo's ID. Seems to me that stealth and innocuous choice. I loaded her tactical notes into your HUD.
Shields offline. Weapon systems offline.
Cullen, I got the power back on. Gonna head up now. I'll keep you posted.
Heard the order from the Banu just came in. Higher than expected.
It's good, right?
And bad. The Navy cost us one job. Now there's this agent. Not sure where we're gonna make the numbers up.
We could hold off on the shipment to Gator. Use that stock for the Banu.
Gator's not gonna like that.
Gator should pay on time, then.
Cullen, I found the victims. Looks like they're prepping some more for cryo. Find him. I lost him. Stay alert. You're here somewhere. Lost him. Keep looking. Trejo!
I was wondering when you decided to show up.
Yeah, we got a little sidetracked.
Better late than never. What do you say about getting me out of these things? Damn it! Oh, you don't got any meds, do you? Thanks. I take back everything I ever said about you, Navy. Come on. I know what they did with my stuff. Idiots keyed in the code in front of
found
me.
Trejo. We're on the move.
Good work. Landing pad. We can evac her out of there.
Agent Trejo, Lieutenant Commander Colden
I'm
said...
not leaving till this is done.
Agent Trejo is insisting on helping clear the rest of the base.
Fine. Keep moving. I'll contact medical teams and her people to move in when secure.
Understood.
And Lieutenant, make sure Trejo understands this is your op. She goes off again like what happened at the Sting, I'm pulling you.
Oh, looks like this is your show, Lieutenant. Lead the way.
Now remember that this is still very work in progress and we have a lot of things to fine tune, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how fluid the story and gameplay will be in Squadron 42. You could be dogfighting at one moment and then engaged in intense ground combat the next, or back on your home ship spending time getting to know your shipmates.
Speaking of ships, let's go to Jared for a special ship shape.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Ship Shape, where we give a quick rundown on what's in the ship pipeline, who's working on what, provide interviews with developers, bring you the most up-to-date news on your favorite ships working their way to release into the Star Citizen universe, and sometimes, just sometimes, I get the chance to strut my stuff and answer some burning ship-related questions. I'm your host, Community Content Manager Jared Huckabee. Behind me, you see the ship pipeline, an ever-evolving, continuously refined network of phases, milestones, and requirements necessary before a ship or vehicle can take its proper place among the flight-ready of Star Citizen spacecraft. Whether it's from design to concept, from white box to gray box to final art and flight prep, this is the process meant to ensure you the best possible accompaniment for your Star Citizen experience. In this special episode, I'm excited to report on two ships that play pivotal roles in the upcoming Squadron 42, the single-player experience set within the Star Citizen universe. Up first, let's take a look at the ship that started life as a corvette, but grew up to be the frigate we all know and love, the Idris by Aegis Dynamics.
The Idris is part of the UE fleet. So you got the Idris, you got the Javelin, and obviously you got the Bengal. So they're the big boys, the big guns as we called them. The original kind of idea and concept came from a collaboration with Chris and Ryan Church at the time. It started off as a much kind of smaller ship to what it is now. You can look back on the internet actually and find you know the original kind of concepts for that ship. It's small.
What we initially did was we kind of we set it up as a small ship basically. So we followed all the guides for small ships. So like it's divided into chunks: body, nose, left wing, right wing. We put all the hard points on it just to make sure it could function like that. And then we started working towards setting up the interior. So we tried to get all the interior objects inside it. But then that's where we started encountering some of the initial like early technical limitations, where loading the Idris was taking ages. We were using, they weren't object containers, they were something else, I've forgotten the name of them completely now. But like what was happening is they were trying to load and they were loading just piles and piles of files that they really shouldn't have been doing, which was slowing everything down. So we had Steve Humphreys, one of our coders, he spent a while and he set up creating these object containers which we could just compile a bunch of these items into like a chunk of the ship and then export that. And the Idris was the first ship we tried that on, and we had to experiment with like how do we divide the ship up, and we eventually, like after a few months, we settled on something that seemed to work quite well. And it's just kind of getting this kind of iterative process for all the new systems that are going in. And yeah, object containers is kind of like, it's one of the biggest that it happened with, but there's loads more going on in there.
So pretty much every bit of new tech that's come into the ship pipeline, or like volumetric fog or anything like that, has gone into the Idris first. It's been like the test ground for every other ship. It's the biggest ship and it's like the main hub in Squadron 42. So we want to get that right to set the standards for all other capital ships.
It plays an integral kind of role in Squadron. It's pretty much your home that you kind of go back to an awful lot. So it needed to facilitate a lot more kind of, a lot more of the script, a lot more gameplay. So over time it kind of grew. It was one of our obviously highest priorities. So we had to work out from pretty much the inside out, like the layout of the ship from scratch, to facilitate not only kind of decent gameplay, decent gunplay, balancing the gameplay as well from a PU perspective, but also facilitating all the things that are required in the script. And that's really cool actually, because it kind of feeds your inspiration as to what kind of various areas can be. So, you know, it feeds, you know, we need a reactor room, we need a briefing room, we need a med bay, we need all these things. And it's kind of subconsciously fed into the design theory of every other ship that we've made since. So we've got these kind of archetypes now that we really kind of push through as much as possible to make sense of each ship, and I think the Idris was the first to do that correctly.
Beyond being a ship, it's almost a flying level. I mean, there have been, I've heard discussions of people being like, oh, we could totally turn this into like an FPS level in space because the ship's so big, and maybe one day that'll happen, maybe they'll do something with that, but like, it's huge for a player ship. When I first started on it, I got lost in it, and I'm not ashamed to say I still get lost in it every now and then. You'll walk out the kitchen and be like, do I turn left or right to get to the nose of the ship, you know? We were putting a bunch of things to increase usability, so like the different sides are color-coded, one side's green, one side's red, and we got signposts everywhere.
I don't think people realise how much this ship has. I think there is a lot of hidden places that people just don't realise, like pretty much every bit of the interior of the ship has been covered. There is not, we're actually struggling to find places to put more things into it because we were limited on the exterior, basically. We needed to get some airlocks into like the front section of the ship, and we're like, okay, where can we put these airlocks? And it's like, well, we can't put them on the side because of the angle of the front of the ship, so we've had to put them going up. But there's a lot of space on the exterior part at the front, but on the interior part, it wasn't. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. We had to juggle a lot of rooms around and stuff and remove certain sections of the ship that didn't make sense anyway, to fit certain rooms into it and just rejig things around. And I think it's all for the better.
Because this ship is like very heavily used in Squadron, the interior was kind of set in stone when I first went onto it. So for a lot of the newer ships we've had set up, we've kind of been able to set up like, this is the engineering bay, this is the living quarters, whatever. For the Idris, it's also very small. It's not quite that clear cut. It's kind of everything's right next to each other and it's all very sort of tightly packed into the ship. But I mean, you start off with the hangar at the very base of the ship, and it's huge. You can fit 3 ships in there, and there's cargo capacity along the sides of the hangar as well. along with cargo lifts to go up into the hangar bay on the floor above. But you then have like a couple of staircases which will take you up to the main deck of the ship. Pretty much everything else on the ship is. You've at the nose, you've got like turret rooms, you've got the medi bay. Behind that, you've got like the living quarters, the captain's quarters, the kitchen, and behind that, you've got the more engineering side of things. So you've actually got the engineering room itself. There's airlocks back there. There's a briefing room as well if you want to just like talk to people and sort something out for the rest of your crew. And at the top, you've of course got the bridge, which is its own like self-contained beast with 11 seats in there, plus a radar, or the hollow globe. It's just big and complicated.
It had a lot of interesting challenges. I think the original version of the hangar had, for example, like the main access for the hangar was right in the middle of the hangar. Like these ladders came down out of the ceiling, which baffled me at the time. So it was really kind of working out kind of interesting ways where you can clear that runway space, and it is a runway at the end of the day, but also open up access to, it's the heart of the ship, so open up access to the rest of the ship. And I was very kind of keen at the time to open up as many kind of portals of opportunity, I kind of call them, where you can see through into other sections of the ship. So you can walk out of the hangar, for example, you can walk for a good 5 minutes and you kind of double back on yourself, and all of a sudden you're looking back down into the hangar. And there is a degree of, you know, when you land, you look up and you can see these areas and it's like, okay, I want to get there, which feeds into the narrative of certain kind of chapters in Squadron as well. So it's really kind of cool to just kind of link all that together. So when you're in this kind of hectic kind of hangar environment and you're looking up and you've got this kind of cool, calm habitation area, the two conflicting is quite an interesting thing to look at. And it makes the ship feel, even though it's huge, it kind of makes it feel a bit more personal.
So we had many challenges, because we had obviously Squadron 42, which it features heavily in Squadron 42. It's your home base. It's where you come back to after each mission in the game. And it's where you can have a lot of downtime to get used to talking to other characters, getting to know the people on the ship, to try and get like this like emotional like connection with everyone. It's your main base essentially. So Squadron 42 is probably one of the main ones we've been gearing it towards, and then the Persistent Universe is just stemmed from the Squadron 42 version of the ship. Collaborative gameplay is probably like where this ship is going to excel in compared to other areas. You're going to need a big crew to run the ship. It's not like any other ship in the game. You're going to need a hefty crew support with this ship. You can't run it on your own. It's so big. To get from one point to another can take 5 minutes. And you're going to need to be able to communicate with the rest of your party.
You need a crew to really fly this thing. We've got a bunch of like seats on the bridge, and what we've done is each seat has a different priority. So the pilot seat has priority over the engines, and if the pilot seat is then left unoccupied, if you have a co-pilot sitting in the co-pilot seat, they have priority on the engine. So the pilot can, I don't know, if they get killed or go away or something, then the co-pilot will take control and do a lot of the flying for you, but they also will be able to do their own thing with their terminal. Then you have the weapon seat, which controls the gun. But the pilot can also control the gun if the weapon seat isn't being used. There's this sort of interlaying like dependency on the seats. So it's worth having multiple people, just because there's going to be a lot to do and one person won't be able to do it all.
It's pretty much got what other ships have, but it's just on such a larger scale that I think it's going to hit people's like nostalgia of old like Star Wars movies. I think that's my most exciting part.
We have a kind of ongoing little giggle about it. It kind of is good at everything. Like there's nothing that I don't feel it's particularly weak at for that size of ship. You can carry obviously three kind of Gladius small-sized fighters in the hangar. We also have the Argo utility vehicle, which tucks into like a subdeck underneath the ship, which is really interesting. It kind of drops down like the Aliens dropship scene, which is sweet. And then you've got pretty much everything else that it can do as well. You've got multiple turrets across the top and the bottom of the ship. You've got the huge railgun at the front, plenty of cargo space to the side of the hangars. It's a level. Like there's so much stuff in this ship that's actually physically flying through the universe with people sat in it, and all the VFX are staying with it, and all the fog's staying with it, and all the usables are staying with it, and all the components are staying with it. Everything in there moves, and is interactable, and this thing's flying at light speed through space. So it's really impressive, and you just get these moments like when we were playing, you know, that demo over and over and over again in the run-up, and then you get these breakthrough moments where they switch the camera to one guy at QA, and he was just sat there looking out of the side window of the bridge, and they were just leaving orbit, and you're just like, okay, like, but you get these moments that completely kind of change your attitude to things, and it kind of makes you want to go even further. It's hard, like it is really hard to do that stuff, and you can kind of, it takes its toll on you as an individual, but then you get these moments and you're just like, yes, this is what makes it all worth it.
The Idris, originally envisioned by celebrated concept artist Ryan Church, is one of the signature ships appearing in the upcoming Squadron 42. I'm pleased to announce that much like the Javelin we discussed last month, due to its size, the Idris is in all of final art phase, where in the hands of the Squadron 42 art team, they're currently working on the various set dressings and special lighting setups necessary to turn it into one of the many cinematic locations you'll visit in the game. It's this combination of immense size and impressively cinematic Squadron 42 game needs that means there's still plenty of work left to be done before this vessel moves into flight prep. But you can be certain, when that time comes, we're going to let you know. Moving along to another ship playing an important role in the story of Squadron 42, let's take a look at the current rework of the little penguin that could, the Aegis Avenger.
The Avenger is one of the original, way back in the day, ships that went into the game. It was actually me that kind of concepted that one. I think it was in record time back then. It's funny. The original uses it was essentially like an old school police vessel back in the day that got repurposed. It was at the time it was sort of very kind of favourable to bounty hunters because of its large cargo space at the time. In the back. Over time that progressed where we've got, you know, several different modules that you can plug into the rear. So you've got the cargo space, the bounty hunter space, and the EMP stuff, which is super interesting. But as with all things in the UK, we decided that the ship wasn't big enough, so we decided it needed to be scaled up. It wasn't just for the sake of doing it. Like the main reason for that is since, you know, 3.5, 4 years ago, you know, the game's progressed an awful lot. A lot of the ship mechanics have come in that we didn't really kind of know about back then. So, for example, like the ship components have gone in, and by the time you put the ship components into what was a small ship, you've got no room to maneuver. And it was very tight anyway. The original Avenger had that kind of crouch space in the middle. So we wanted to get away, you know, do away with all that, and basically make the ship easily traversable, either in gravity or in zero gravity. By expanding the middle section and kind of building that out so it can, you know, accommodate all the components from tech design. You can sleep there, you can walk there basically, rather than having to go into this kind of crouch pose, which created all sorts of collision issues. So yeah, that's all gone now.
The changes we've been making on the Avenger have been bringing the textures and shaders up to a higher quality, adding a little bit more grunge, because it's kind of one of those workhorse ships of the UEE. It's the advocacy's main combat vessel, and I wanted to look like it's been around a bit longer and seen a bit of action effectively. So we wanted the textures to have a little bit more grunge, things look a little bit more worn, a little bit kind of more used effectively, and we wanted just to polish up the geometry on the ship as well, just give it a slightly cleaner aesthetic without kind of losing any of the design cues that people enjoy about that ship already. The biggest challenges with the Avenger was scaling it up whilst not kind of distorting the design in any way. You still wanted the cockpit and spaces to feel quite enclosed, but we didn't want to change the proportionality between the bounds of the cockpit and the ship itself, because it's all quite intrinsic in the proportion of the design. So a lot of that has had some rework and some back and forth, but I think we're quite happy with where it is currently.
The interior has got a lot bigger. Whilst we've done this rework, we obviously wanted to fix the component issues. We wanted to sort the middle section out so it's traversable easily. The cockpit's generally got a little bit bigger, so the camera's got a bit more room to maneuver in there. And we've also sorted the rear ramp out, so there's no collision issues there now, especially with the new compression system coming in, because we're finding with a lot of ships, once they compress, that whole metric that you work to kind of goes out the window, so you have to give yourself a bit more of a buffer to work with, which we've done here. So should you land quite heavy on the rear, you're still going to be able to get in that ship no problems.
The Avenger, before we ever built the interior for it, wasn't meant to have an interior in the first place. I think it was just the cockpit, and then that was kind of retrofitted, and now revisiting the ship, we felt that making it a little bit bigger and making the space inside more practical was worth the effort. So we've gone back in and we've done those changes here.
We've got the 3 different variants. We've got the Stalker, which has the prison pods in the back, and it's the one where you can put people in there. We've got the Titan, where it's the cargo ship, so you can put a limit. It's not got the biggest cargo capacity because it's still a fairly small ship, but you can put cargo in there. And then we also have the Warlock, which has replaced the entire back area with an EMP device. That whole kind of system came about really from the Retaliator stuff that we've done, where we started thinking about, like, you have like different versions of the ship in the game, should we say, without having to kind of going and redo the whole ship all the time. Obviously that's very kind of labor intensive and kind of it's intensive on the engine as well. So it's really about kind of swapping sections out as quickly as possible. So the EMP was, I think it was done 3 years ago now. And it's massive, like it's the ship's main kind of weapon, shall we say. It completely replaces the whole cargo space or the bounty hunter space. Cargo space is what it is. I mean, it's just not too much more I can say about that. And then the bounty hunter, what's really interesting about that is the way that you can configure the rear of the ship. So you can have 6 of these pods, cryo-sleep pods, where you kind of chuck people in, or you can potentially have 3 on one side and then clear the other side for cargo, vice versa. So it's kind of quite customizable, which is kind of interesting.
But it's also not incapable when it comes to combat. It's a medium-sized sort of ship, so it's quite maneuverable, and it will be quite versatile when it comes to finding yourself in a combat scenario. I think it's one of those where it'll make quite a good sort of entry-level fighter. So anyone that's just got into the game, you're quite enjoying you start a ship and you'd be like, oh, I want to move on to a bigger ship. I think the Avenger, if you don't want to spend as much as on the Gladius, say, the Avenger would be quite a good next step for you. And also, if you want a ship that can do a few things, it's like, get the Titan. It's got cargo space. So if you want to move some cargo, you've got a ship that can do a bunch of things and it's not too expensive.
I believe, obviously, yeah, there's going to be missions where you're going to have to kind of go out and capture people. Long-term solution with, obviously, within the PU now. I mean, that's definitely for Squadron. That's something that will come about. So those kind of mission types will, I imagine, turn up in the game. Like I say, I'm not a designer, so I don't want to speak for those guys. But also, I can imagine that there will be wanted signs up for various people, like real players, so if you can catch them, which makes it quite exciting and whatnot. So yeah, you'll be slinging them in the back of the Avenger or the new Hawk, I imagine. So yeah, one or the other.
I find myself wanting to put a giant bullhorn on top of it and fly it around the galaxy like I'm a blues brother in the Bluesmobile. Am I the only one? It's one of my favorite movies, don't judge me. With the continuing development of Squadron 42 necessitating a rework on the Avenger, the ship is currently with the Squadron 42 art team and in the final art phase, specifically the final modeling and surface tweak stage. Now when that team has completed their work, it will move back to the Star Citizen art team, where they will make any adjustments necessitated for the specific use within the persistent universe, before it then moves on to flight prep and then its eventual release into your hands. I just need to convince them to add an item port to the top so I can advertise my own rhythm and blues music review. It's a good movie. From the soaring adventures of Squadron 42, we travel through the tough terrain and terrestrial trade of Tumbril. Yeah, with an interview about the latest concept offering from our newest manufacturer, the Tumbril tank. Let's take a look.
So the Tumbril Nova, this is our first sort of trip into looking at large military vehicles, land-based vehicles. So this is the heavy tank.
It's a really big tank. It's bigger than many tanks I think exist right now. This is like a 12 meters long, 5 meters tall, 9 meters wide tank. So this is pretty big. This allows the player to stand upright in the tank. He won't have to crouch or to have some weird stance like in the Rover or some other vehicles.
So this is built by Tumbrel, which is a relatively new company in terms of the sort of art style that we've been working with. And this is the large battle tank basically. So this is like the size of a small British house.
Tumbrel apparently has been making tanks, well, military hardware a long time ago. We've introduced it with the Cyclone, and at the time I think we've teased that it did tanks in the past, and this is, well, one of their best designs. This is a super heavy tank. It's really well armed, really well protected as well, and yeah, it's obviously good against other ground vehicles, but also made to be able to defend itself against spaceships if needed. We got 3 different weapons on the Nova tank. We got a big ballistic cannon at the front, like most tanks, where basically you can't fire. It's made for ground vehicles because it will be probably too slow to track spaceships and stuff like this. We got 2 laser repeaters, which is basically the same loadout that on the Rover or most turrets or stuff like this. And then we got a new kind of missiles that is on the tank and that is made to defend itself against the ships. It has also some countermeasures, but this is more like if you get a missile alert from a spaceship, you can defend yourself against this. But yeah, this is just basic defense.
And it's sort of a modular, modular construction, so we're going to be able to swap out the main turret for different abilities. The modularity mainly is in just the 2 sections. So you've got the main turret and then the body. So the body is the sort of the main rolling chassis. We can swap that out. Maybe that you have 2 huge rail guns, maybe you've got anti-aircraft, maybe it's like just a whole salvo of missiles. I guess that's to be sort of worked on and figured out as part of the whole gameplay experience. And in terms of construction, it's quite, there are similarities with the buggy, with the Cyclone. The Cyclone was the first of the Tumbrel vehicles, and that one had a very sort of signature sort of exoskeleton almost, like you had a framework that was very visible that ran around, and then everything was sort of bolted onto it. Obviously with a tank, you want it to be heavy, you want it to feel robust, so that frame isn't visible from the exterior, but it is from the interior. So so a lot of the sort of line work and design theory is more visible on the interior. So again, it's got that sort of almost modular feeling. So like if you wanted to repair it, you could just swap parts out and bolt them back in.
The exterior is a bit special. We wanted to show that, well, this is an heavy tank, so it have a big armor plate. The turret is separated from the body, so the gunner is not going inside the turret like in some tanks that we know actually the gunner might be close to the turret. This is not the case here. The gunner is in a separate room. That is under the turret but not linked to the turret. At the front there's a driver and a gunner that works on other systems. There is enough space inside to take care of the components, like if a component starts to overheat or whatever, you can repair it or change it while you're inside the tank. There is an external door that is at the rear. You got a mini ramp and basically a door. This is a relatively easy entry point. This is not like tanks where you have to go from the top or this kind of stuff. On the side of the tank there's also side skirts, protection side skirts that will be linked to suspension, so if you move, the side skirt obviously won't stay at the same position, it will move, it will rise up with the suspension of the tracks.
We haven't gone wild with this, it's more of a natural progression. Tumbrel isn't a wild manufacturer, so we've sort of tried to keep it in fiction, and so you look at it, it is pretty solid, but it's not, it's not full of trinkets. It's, it hasn't got reactive armor plastered all over the sides. This thing has a shield, so we don't need to worry about that. It has got, obviously, in terms of its construction, it looks solid, weighty, like it could take a hit even if your shield goes down. But beyond that, it's relatively straightforward, I guess. It's got countermeasures. It's got some anti-personnel guns on it. It's got its main barrel, which I think is an S4, and then some like a salvo of missiles, basically for aircraft, etc. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that's going to give you a good shot at staying alive. And if there's a few of you in these things, then it should be pretty imposing. I'm sort of looking forward to the day when players are playing the game and you're on one of the moons or one of the planets and you're sort of looking at the horizon, and then this whole battalion sort of starts creeping over. I think that's going to be, that's kind of like a classic World War II moment, isn't it? Sort of Sahara-based kind of thing. I mean, it's going to happen in all sorts of worlds, isn't it? Different. You're going to have cold moons. You're going to have Sahara, sandy deserts. You're going to, I guess, ultimately in the future, we're going to have foliage and all that side of things. So, yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Every kind of player wants a tank at some point because, well, this is a must-have. In a game, if you can't make a tank, obviously you need to make a tank at some point. And many players want a tank, but I think many developers wanted a tank as well. So we're really happy and really excited about working on a tank because, yeah, this is not like a simple hover or a cyclone or a bike or whatever. This is, well, you got a big tank, big protection, big guns. And hopefully we will get big explosions from that as well.
Inspiration-wise, obviously we're pulling from the Tumbrel work that we did on the Cyclone and continuing to push on that. I mean, I've said it again. For me, it's always the time. It's the timelines that are tricky. So, there's a lot of stuff that you want to cover and you want to try and figure out. You don't necessarily have all the time. So that's why I sort of see this as our sort of entry into this side of things, and we'll continue pushing it. We'll continue pushing materials and sort of working on that Tumbrel manufacturer influence. In terms of real world reference, that's the beauty of the internet, right? In terms of, there's no shortage of information on tanks, APCs, futuristic, old school stuff. And it's just sort of picking what works best for Star Citizen in terms of our influences, and then sort of, okay, well that's cool, but how do we advance that? How do we move it forward? How do we make this tank look like it's not built in 5 years' time? People still want it, everybody knows what a tank should look like, so it's kind of, you're always treading that line of sort of providing what people want to see in terms of traditional sense. And then I think, if we want to do the wilder stuff, that's when we start using other manufacturers. That's when we can really sort of start pushing out of the bounds of what people expect a tank to be.
I really like tanks, so I'm really happy to be on the first tank of the game. So this is a super heavy tank. I think if we make other tanks later on, it will probably be smaller after that and probably closer to what we have, where you don't really have a real interior to the tank. You get from the top, you get inside and you're on your seat. Whereas this one is a really big tank. You get inside, you walk inside, you can change the components, you can go see if the other crew member is fine, or just open the door and fire through the door, this kind of stuff. So yeah, this is not your usual kind of tank in games, and this is not your usual kind of tank that you could see in real life as well, unless you are talking about some crazy prototypes that never came out or whatever. So yeah, this is really cool. And the name is nice as well, Tumbrel Nova. So I think we got some really interesting lore about the tank as well. We get some proper ground vehicles, and that the tank is coming this soon into the game. This will be really nice for every kind of situation, as I said, like if you want to attack a base, or if you want to to do a surprise to some players or defend yourself against ships. This will be really nice. Like there's every kind of situation that has been planned, outside obviously of falling from space or going into the water or this kind of stuff.
So pretty much now we're at the point where we're wrapping up concept art, which I always really enjoy, and I think, you know, we're sort of really pushing on sort of stories that we're trying to tell in our promotional images these days. We've sort of leveled up in the last sort of 6 months, I would say. You know, we'll go back through design, make sure that we have hit all the beats, and then with any feedback from the community we can tackle, and then hopefully there'll be a seamless experience.
And knowing is half the battle. Gee, they won't let me say it. The Tumbrel Nova has completed concept phase and is currently available to pledge for on the Roberts Space Industries website. It's an exciting addition to Star Citizen, and I'm looking forward to the day when we can see battles waged across land, sea, or air. Yeah, I still won't like it. Finally, before we let you go, I had one more update for you about a ship we covered last month, the Origin 600i. In the November monthly report, currently available up on the RSI website, we shared an image of the interior cockpit of the ship in gray box phase, and due to the camera positioning way back near the rear of that section, the cockpit struts that have been a part of the model since its original inception and concept reveal appeared much closer to obstructing the forward view of any potential pilot. Those struts can also be found inside the concept holoviewer model when you pivot the camera inside of the ship so that you can approximate a cockpit perspective. For the gray box image we showed in the monthly report, here's a look around inside that very same model. All that said, I'm very pleased to report that in keeping with the continuing evolution of origin, style, and profile, artists on the ship team working on the 600i have decided to remove the struts altogether and provide this luxury ship with an unparalleled view of the galaxy that owners deserve. I do say, steady on, old chap. We'll have that ship in shape in no time, and that's not just cricket. With that, this episode of Ship Shape comes to a close, but you haven't seen the last of us. We'll be back in the new year with more ships, more ship updates, and more things that only I think are funny. For Ship Shape, I'm Community Content Manager Jared Huckabee. I'll see you next time on Ship Shape. Hopefully there's a graphic there. Probably not.
Idris owners will want to hold on to this capital ship after seeing just how massive it is. Also, if you don't own an Avenger, now's the perfect time to pick one up. It's available as one of the discount starter packs on sale over the holidays.
Yes, the Tumbrel Nova brings another dimension to ground combat in Star Citizen. It's heavily armored and features devastating weapons that can be used against targets on the ground or in the air.
The tank first made a name for itself during the Second Tavaran War and remained a battlefield force for centuries before Tumbrel went out of business.
Recently, a group of investors bought and revived the Tumbrel brand. After successfully bringing the Cyclone back to the civilian market, they turned their attention to the iconic Nova. The original tank was so well designed that only minor updates were needed to make it ready for the modern battlefield.
If you're interested in owning this versatile war machine, the Tumbrel Nova is on sale from now until January 15th.
Yeah, very cool. So to learn more about the Nova, head to our website and read the brochure which profiles some of the famous battles where the tank distinguished itself.
If you don't own Star Citizen or Squadron 42 yet, then this is the perfect time to pick up both. We're currently offering discount starter packages for Star Citizen over the holidays. If you grab one, then you can also get Squadron 42 for only $15 with the Super Size Me add-on. The deal is available until January 31st, and after that, the Super Size Me price will increase to $20.
Yeah, that's all for today. So anyway, I wanted to thank the subscribers for supporting all the video content that keeps everyone up to date on the game. Be sure to vote in our subscriber poll to help shape your 2018 perks.
And of course, thank you to all of our backers. This game would not be possible without your passion and support. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you guys very, very much.
Let's go to a special message from our studios.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! Happy Holidays! That was great. Was sehen wir Frohe Weihnachten
aus Frankfurt!
Happy holidays!
Happy holidays! Woo! Yeah!
So happy holidays, everyone, and until next week, we'll see you
around the verse.